Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
We talking about sex. We talking about sex. Sex is sexy. Don't you over jigging.
No, the fact that we lowered the octave, like real 5 notches.
I love it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holiloquy podcast, where we step out and speak about sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, Dr. Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slaytor Jackson. And for my little freaks, and hopefully if I have some fin-dom situation going on sometime by this point, for those who found me on that end, Sebastian's Adams. Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? On today's episode, we will be talking about that shit, that sex work shit. Yes. And I have Tyrell. How are you doing?
I am doing so great. Thank you so much for having me back. I always enjoy our conversations, and hopefully you guys out there enjoy them as well.
Love it. I'm quite sure they love it every time you come on. They better. If they don't, pull the fuck up. Literally do not pull up, because pull up. I'm in the hood. They bust out here. Let me stop.
Look, you know they got GPS, right?
They do. Y'all don't pull up. Y'all already know I don't got a gap, but I do have this machete, and machete will cut a motherfucker. Let's not. Oh, okay, let me stop. Non-violence. So, as I said, we will be talking about sex work this episode. Tyrell, what's your views?
Oh, my views as far as sex work. I am a proponent for those who engage in sex work. I think that, we need more laws to protect our sex workers. And, I think the nature of sex work, just when it's done in a respectful and positive light, it can be very impactful for so many people. And I just think that we need to put some more respect on our sex workers.
I agree. I'm all here for making that a legal and safe place for a lot of people who are willing and wanting to go into that field, because it is an actual field. Like when you look at the pornography that's put out there, the production and all of that, because I do have my issues with some of the porn that's out here, right, but it's still a full-on production that you have to do. It takes skill to do that. It takes a lot of character and I guess skill will work as the characterizing phrase too, term for what people have to do in order to catch a viewer's eye, to make them be engaged into the sexual scene, even though I will say some actors are not doing what needs to be done when it comes to how I like to see my my porn. But the ones who are out there who's getting the job done, they're doing what they need to do, because look, they're thriving.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this yesterday as I was on my Twitter porn, getting my life together. I was thinking about, because there was this caption about, I won't mention this person's name, but mention about him having like a comeback or, something like that, because he was associated with this production company. And it was so interesting. Like, I didn't necessarily think about that at first, about how a lot of adult entertainers have taken it upon themselves, like, to self-promote, which, makes more sense, obviously. But in doing, obviously in doing so, they can show all of themselves and not just the object of affection. should we say. And it really made me think about how, like, like when we used to have our, or we still have, our porn production companies, like you didn't get to see adult entertainers or sex workers, like, really publicized. The only time where you get to, I think, like see them is more so like when they would have like the Latino, ACEs events and, events that would surround, sex positivity and things like that. But now, because so many people are on, your Twitters and your TikToks and other platforms who, promote themselves and the sex work that they do, that it makes it a lot much more, not necessarily easier access, but easier content access.
Yes. And well, before the show, we were talking about some of the BS that I was dealing with, not necessarily with my, Zadom side of things. It's literally the professional side of things. Like there is a lot of roadblocks when it comes to advertising yourself, for one, on any platform, when it comes to being a sex worker or being within the sexual health field. Like even like on Instagram, I cannot even promote anything under Slaytor's Playhouse because they automatically associate that platform with erotic or pornographic imaging, and there hasn't been not one pornographic image, like it, just because it mentions the word sex every now and again. I cannot advertise any of my posts on that page. And it's funny because they have a notice like for the advertising that you can promote things about sexual health. And mind you, sexual pleasure is a part of sexual health, but the sexual health that you can advertise have to be, of course, towards 18 and older, which is a setting that you can put in Instagram to promote. Actually, I don't think it even goes below 18, and typically I advertise to 21 up and up, anyways. But you have to have that. And if any education is involved, it has to be essentially abstinence only type of education, which is not full on sexual health. So it's like you cannot say you have a sexual health requirement if you're not engaging in all of sexual health. And even with MailChimp, which I've recently been banned from, I cannot promote anything because it said I had an OnlyFans account connected to it. And I'm like, my OnlyFans doesn't have any sexual explicit content on there. It's a lot of fucking pictures on there. And when I say pictures, I mean art.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like the things that's what's happening now with these bans and stuff. It's like they're taking things down without even investigating anything. It's like they just get a flag for something. It's like, oh no, you done.
Right. And I know like from my research and whatnot, like my doctoral research, that a lot of this deals with the fact that we do have that law, SESTA FOSTA, which is the Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act. And then that's the SESTA part. And then the FOSTA part is Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, which is great. That is what we should be doing to end sex trafficking. But the definition and how it's enforced impacts sex workers who are not being sex trafficked. It also impacts anything that's dealing with sexual health. You cannot even mention an orgasm without being flagged. You cannot mention anything dealing with sexual pleasure. You cannot mention aroused in certain contexts without it being flagged or not being promoted on algorithms. Like, I don't even know how you even found this podcast, because that's how it gets sex. A lot of these platforms are. So it's crazy. But that has hindered a lot of people, most definitely those who are trying to promote themselves for their OnlyFans, and having to create multiple tricks just to trick the algorithm so that you can promote yourself. It's like a daily it's a daily thing that you have to adjust to learn a new trick that can get you out there a little bit more.
Exactly. And, to the sex workers that are out there, I am so glad that many of them, when they do have encounters where they have been, disrespected, or somebody has, come at them real left, I'm glad that they're speaking out about it and they will tweet about it. They will, post stories about it, because what you have to remember at the end of the day is, do not get caught up in giving attention to, people's appendages, that you forget that these are real people that these are real people and real human beings. You
Right.
know, it's kind of like, sometimes you'll see certain comments and, just things like that. I give a very prime example, and usually I don't get into online beefs or Twitter, wars, or, whatever you want to call them, but I just felt the need to speak on this. There was a post as I was on my Twitter. There was a post where this man, very, handsome man, he had posted a picture where, like, you get into like that pose, and he took a picture of, his backside from the nature of a mirror. And one of the comments was one from a Black gentleman, and another one was from a white woman, who were commenting on they were asking the question of, oh my God, like, why does he look why does he look dark at the bottom, but he's light skinned, or, or something along those lines, because the tweet has been some time ago. And I remember just like in that moment, as much, kind of toxic nature that, sites like Twitter can be, sometimes I'll just let them roll off my shoulders or whatever. But it's something in me just felt the need to put these two people on blast. And so I didn't go for them, but I just had made the comment to the guy, because he tweeted them back. He was like, what does my skin color have to do with the nature of, this photo? And I felt so bad that he felt that when he posted that picture, now because of these two people, he's in a space of now having to justify himself when you're on his page. And I just felt so bad in that moment. And so I tweeted something along the lines of, well, obviously it's clear that some people obviously don't recognize the difference, that, you can be multiple shades, like you can be multiple shades. And obviously that's lost upon certain people. Do not worry about those kind of comments. You look great. Peace and love, to you, or, whatever it is that I mentioned. But just in that moment, it made me so infuriated, because here this person is, posting this picture for whatever the reason is. And now, because you have posted a picture of your body, now people feel the need to come at you sideways of questioning you about your own physical appearance.
The Holiloquy podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Holiloquy podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Holiloquy podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation.
Now people feel the need to come at you sideways of questioning you about your own physical appearance. And it's not even necessarily asking a question to be inquisitive. It's just being ignorant.
That's the space that a lot of social media is. It's just catering to ignorance. And it's like, yes, you have so much information out here that people can access that we all know that they're not willing and wanting to do. So I don't know why people still bring that out, but it's like, we're in the space of ignorance. It's regardless of how much information you provide to a person to want to educate them, they're just going to not want to follow that. It sucks, but that's the reality. And it's until more platforms are willing to equitably address the issues that a lot of people face, most definitely when it comes to the realm of sex work, and look at the context of conversations again, to make sure that people are protected, and make sure that people are not being not having to justify their actions to people who just want to scream into a void just because you felt proud or felt pleased with your body and wanted to post out on the internet. Like, people are just annoying and sickening.
They are. And then I think I especially became infuriated. Like I say, the black man, yeah, he was like all wrong as 3 other shoes, but I really became infuriated about this white woman commenting on this black body. Like, it just, I hate, and I hate to be using the word trigger because I think it's such not necessarily a dated term now, but it's like every time somebody's triggered about something. But really, in that moment, I felt the historical implications. I felt the gratifying. I felt I had all the feels about the fact that this white woman was commenting on this black body. So yeah, it was not pretty. And I had to self-regulate and check myself because I'm like, look, don't have this to come out your character based on someone else. So that's why I chose to direct the positive energy towards him rather than them.
Love it. I need to start practicing that because I think telling people about themselves and helping them gain their life is becoming a fetish at this point. But we're supposed to be talking about Twitter porn. Oh, okay. So Twitter definitely has some of the best porn out there. I do appreciate that a lot more sex workers are on that platform and share. Well, if they get to stay, because with the recent updates and shit. But
that's gonna be another conversation.
A whole nother thing. But if Twitter porn can stay on that platform, it has been a very eye-opening avenue, a great experience of learning like how many people are in sex work. Granted, I think there's a push for a lot of the younger generation of starting their own OnlyFans and things like that, which is kind of disturbing in a way. I encourage them to, do whatever makes them happy, but I also don't know if they're doing that just because they think it's easy money and not know how involved or even know the history of sex work. But
yeah, and now it's even getting into like some fears that I'm not a part of, because I don't now, as much as I follow people, I don't, I'm not subscribed to anybody's OnlyFans. But now I know that there is now the things that are coming out where some of the content creators are having problems with OnlyFans. So now they have the Just for Fans platform and, all these other platforms. So now it's getting into spheres that go way beyond my head. But yeah, I think it's, like you say, it's something that's a little disturbing about the fact that new kind of content creators are being pushed into these stratospheres. And I think it's because of the fact, just like how we think about music, about how people become like independent, are now like being independent artists now. I think it's, to kind of connotate it to that, like you hear so many like content creator stories about what happens when they try to work for production companies and things like that. So if they can build their own brand and connect, and that's why, it's really like exciting. And now content creators are so like creative. They're so creative because now when you go on Twitter, one of your favorite, content creators, they'll drop a teaser for them being in a video with so and so. So they'll drop like a 20-second teaser and to say like, hey, coming soon, to bring them to the so you can be brought to the platform for OnlyFans or Just for Fans to actually watch the video. And just the connections that are made across the major cities of people who do have that kind of following and fan base. And so, baby, it'd be like a special feature that's about to happen. Like we've been for the few seconds you are on Twitter for that content, it's like, oh yes, this thing came out. And even though I know I'm only gonna see like 2 minutes of this, It'd be like a whole feature film.
Right.
It'd be a whole
Right.
feature.
No, like I definitely love that, like with the platforms like Just for Fans and OnlyFans, is and giving a lot of creators that opportunity to network within, to connect with, to collab with other sex workers, to put out a production. I love that for them, because beforehand you had to see who you're going to be scheduled with. But I know one of the things that really nag me in the back, like it is always there, because there's that huge push of having unprotected sex, and within like the traditional like the traditional production companies that you might find in like California and whatnot. A lot of the people who are getting into sex work do not understand or even know the background or the history of what all goes on before these people go and get on set. You have to make sure that you're tested. You have to get tested between each sexual partner that you have, each sexual encounter, each filming, and all of that, to ensure that you're not bringing any kind of STIs to the person that you'll be filming with, in order for you to have raw sex with this person. And this is not to say that if you see a condom within a traditional production is because they had some kind of STI. No, it's just, that's just what, that was a boundary thing for that person. But there's not a lot of that being shown when it comes to like most definitely queer spaces, more specifically gay spaces. I don't see too many pornography that has condom usage. There's that mindset that raw is law.
Yeah, and it's actually great that you mentioned that, because somebody who I went onto their page yesterday, has a big following, and a lot of people were giving him praise, because majority of the time, I would say not even necessarily majority, but 100% I think of his content that he posts, you will always see the fact of there's a condom involved. And he was saying that, even though he has all these followers and stuff like that, he still goes back to those early sex conversations that he would have with his mom and his aunts and stuff like that, about the nature that all it takes is that, that one time. And it's not even to say, like, even if protection is used, that something is still not going to happen, but making sure that you have taken, necessary precautions to minimize that. And I like what he said. He's saying that, if you're not going to watch my content because I'm not using protection, like, what kind of message is that sending? What kind of message is that sending? And of course, everybody has their own preferences and stuff like that. So if you're into raw and things like that, I like how he said that this is just not the place for you. Because even though he's not necessarily making a kind of outwardly public announcement or conscious effort to promote, healthy sexual encounters, by making sure he is in scenes with partners who respect that boundary and respect the nature of having protection, that message is automatically implicit. Yes. So yeah, yeah. But I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think that is one of the major aspects about the misconception, should I say, about being an adult entertainer or should I say sex worker. And especially if you're new into, the avenue, to feel like, oh, the only way that you are going to establish a baseline is to engage in activity that you may not necessarily have engaged with before.
Because like because I really don't be focusing too much on like new content creators, because I'm happy that they're there, but it's like when you have the ones, when you become a fan of certain people, you're just like, I'm here for their content and their content only. If I might subscribe to their OnlyFans one day, but that's something else. But you're just focusing on your normal, your regular, the ones that you're on the app to see. But whenever I do come across a new content creator and I'm just like browsing through what's going on, and then because the way that a lot of them market is that because there's been a lot more public play clips that I've been seeing, but you'll have, met this stranger this place, met this place, the person that place. I actually saw somebody, I think it was either last night or 2 nights ago, who posted that they only do raw sex with strangers. And I'm like, and you have a video, you're showing yourself as, a sex worker. So I'm assuming that this is the field that you're in, and you're putting that message out there that this is what you do. How often are you getting tested? We don't think about that follow-up. And with you having your platform to because a lot of people turn to pornography for education, for sex ed, because they do not know what they're doing. They want someone to show them all the possibilities of sex. It's a responsibility for you to have as a sex worker to provide adequate sex education to people.
Yes. And I think the main reason why that ends up becoming a bit of a problem is because we've entered into a space where, it's about self-promotion. I'm just doing this to, for myself and, to engage in what I like. You're not taking conscious of the more followers you get, the more you become socially responsible for the things that you put out there. And so I do wish that, I wish a lot more content creators would give, and I'm not even saying necessarily to say that you have to be, the go-to or the regulator for how this is supposed to go, but have, something about on your page that actually speaks about, hey, if I'm a content creator and, I like to, do hotel hookups with, anonymous people who come. Actually make some, videos where you actually talk about the safety precautions that, you take to do, or the fact that these are, steps that, that you can take to make sure that you continue to be safe. And it's not to say that that's always going to be a guarantee or 100%, but just like one of the content creators I follow, ever so often he does put out messages that are very uplifting, where he is uplifting the nature of showing more love to bigger men, where he is showing, to say like, hey, we need to put some more respect and put some more love out here for our, men who are penetrated, and things like that. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a whole education course about what it is that you do, but just because of what it is that you do, to share that knowledge, because like you say, so many people look to you and others like you as part of your platform. And it's sadly one of those things about the fact that you're not going to get protection from the outside world, from other aspects. So we have to innately protect each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way that you can do that, just like how you post those videos, you can make a streamline to post about, hey, this is kind of like what you need to do. There's one creator out there, he does a lot of video promotions about the nature of the sex toys that, he makes, and how to actually tutorials about how to actually use them, safely and stuff like that, and also with a partner as well. And so, I just wish more content creators would do those kind of things.
Definitely send that one to me. Like anyone who's a fan of the podcast by this point already know I have like a collection of sex toys, and I also have a way to get free sex toys, which I've been loving.
So then you need to share that.
I got you. Love it. But like even when it comes to, it's like you don't have to be a professor, you don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to be that in these spaces, because a lot of people who are new to this, because of like things like OnlyFans, they haven't been able to go through, I don't want to say trauma of the productions of traditional sex work, but they haven't had the opportunity to experience what the hardships of that, of that self-promotion, having to go to different conferences and things like that, networking with different people within the same city to figure out how you all can, get your content together, knowing someone that you have a full ass agent that does everything for you. But when things shifted for, the traditional sex workers to transition to platforms like OnlyFans, when that shift happened, a lot of those who were already in the field, they provided, because they have the opportunity to engage with their community a lot more. They had those conversations with people, let them know, hey, you saw me on set, you saw me squirting and all this other stuff, you saw me fuck her so good and all of that. That stuff is not real. That stuff is not necessarily how I interact with people when it comes to sex. That is just that character that was for the production. But this content that you'll be seeing from me now on my platform will be a lot more authentic. It will be a lot more me. You will see when I have my highs. You will see when I have my lows. You will see that I get exhausted. I'm not fucking somebody for 4 straight hours. I'm tired. Like, you get a lot more of that exposure. Now that you have those, that platform, you have those sex workers giving that knowledge to their following. But those who are new to it, they never got that experience. They just have that instant, I know I can make an OnlyFans, I could build a following, I can collab with these other creators if they're interested, and then that's it. That's all I need to do. But do you know their sexual histories? Do you know your sexual histories? Do you know anything about exposures?
And even if you were to do those kind of video segments, even if they're not necessarily particularly popular, my thing would be like, I just feel like if I was a content creator, I just would innately feel some type of social responsibility for, like, yeah, I have these, great fun videos that are there for, you all's enjoyment. But I don't know. It's just something intrinsically, I think, in me would feel, and I don't know, maybe that stems from just being in education, but it would just be like one of those things where, yeah, and it doesn't necessarily need to be anything that, like you say, you don't need to be a professor and, like have these credentials and things like that. You're just honestly speaking on the nature of your experiences. And there's nothing more invaluable. And just because you may not necessarily get recognition for it, and hey, you could make a video that is explaining all about this and only have 2 views of it. But trust, those 2 people that viewed it more than likely took something away from it. And, you never know who they may share it with and who they may share it with. So just because you may not necessarily be getting the feedback and the greatness that you're receiving, like you're receiving from the nature of your other videos, doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile to do.
And I kind of wonder if people are still having that conversation with themselves. Are they still comfortable with the idea that they may actually skyrocket in their success, and they may be exposed to a lot more, and with exposure comes communications with family. And are you able to have that conversation? Are you willing and ready to have that conversation? Because that exposure can happen at any time. And I know, like for my family, if there is a random film out there with me having sex, they'll probably just be like, okay, we saw this shit coming. He has a whole book about this shit, so we saw this coming.
Look, it was only a matter of time, right?
It was coming. We knew it was going to happen. Don't show me the video. I don't want to see it. I expected this. But like, are these individuals who are new to the game, are you willing to be in that position of when someone who knows you find it, to have that conversation like, hey, this is what I do. It's okay. I'm proud of it. And I want you to be proud of it. And I don't know. That's the one thing that worries me when it comes to new content creators who, because when I think of the current generation, the Gen Z out here, this is coming from my education background with and dealing with them, that a lot of them are focused on the instant gratification and not the work that's like building something that's sustainable. And because of that, many of them do not think their actions through all the way, and that can cause issues. And
yeah, and it takes time to, learn those type of things. Just to kind of like give an example, like I didn't know, for as much as because I love to watch like reaction videos on YouTube, like just like shows and movies and stuff like that. And in the beginning, I was like, I had this mindset like, oh, like this is like one of like the most easiest jobs ever. All I have to do is like film myself watching something and I can get followers, right? But it took for me to have a real education and learning that no, sitting up there and recording yourself is not just the job. Like you have to have space out the time for yourself to do that. You have to edit your recordings just like you do with any type of any type of recordings that you do. You have to know videography, you have to do lighting, you have to go back and see about a posting schedule, you have to get moderators to filter out people in the comments who spoil things. So there are a lot of moving pieces to being a reactor on YouTube, and it really gave me such a profound respect to say like, hey, that would be great for me to do, but I ain't trying to do all I'm not trying to do all that. But to segment back, it's like you say, a lot of times people coming into the industry like they don't know those ins and outs. And I think what's happened is, the one good thing I used to think about production companies is that if you were getting with a certain production company, it's kind of like a job. You learn the kind of ins and outs. Now, not to say that all those ins and outs were positive, because we do know about those shady business, but at least you were in a kind of umbrella of getting to know the ins and outs. Now it's become that, oh, all you need to do is just follow these creators, but there's no type of like real guidance, unless you just create that one-on-one connection. So it's kind of like you're just learning as you go.
And it's like that's why when I think about the newer creators, that I love it that they are keeping it up. Because like literally my main concern is their safety and all, their mental well-being, and being emotionally stable enough to be in this field. Like even for myself, because I'm technically considered a sex worker, even though I'm not putting out sexually explicit content. Just knowing the views that other people may have of you, or yes, you get to a point where you just stop caring about what other people think of you, which is a great place to be. Oh my God, it's phenomenal. But you still think about your fans in a way, how they're seeing you, making sure that you are engaging with them in an equitable and respectful manner, and even having to think about, how are you respecting yourself? Are you taking time for yourself outside of the productions that you're putting out? Are you meeting or having sexual encounters with people who will benefit you or respect you, respect your body, respect your privacy, and respect your platform enough that it's not going to come back and hurt you? Like, are these things that are being thought about?
And along that note, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it makes me think about certain incidences that have happened where I think, as much as we want to respect sex workers, I do believe that for people that they're filming with, that they also need to make sure that they're doing that respect. Now, I haven't really seen too many incidences, and especially now because we have, revenge porn laws and, things like that. I really don't see a lot of times where people are being filmed in a sexual encounter without their permission. However, I have noticed that there has been a rise of, like you say, for people who are engaging in like public spaces, when they happen to have film with somebody who has to be in like uniform or have a name tag or something like that, and then they don't, like black out the face or black out the name. And you have had some instances where some people have spoken out about the fact that once the video has gotten out and that person is easily identifiable, that they have been fired from their job because of it, or they've had to face certain consequences because of it. And, I just think that, sometimes, sex workers need to also be very, very careful. But that also leads me into like this other thing I'm fascinated to get your insight on. What do you think about like for people who willingly participate, obviously, in the making of a video, but the making of that video has that person like with a ski mask on and hiding their face? Honestly, for me, I don't discredit it, but those are like some of like the videos that I kind of just don't watch whenever I'm going through like, my Twitter porn or whatever, because my thing is like, yeah, you have a right to not show your face or to cut angles however you want to, because I do believe in privacy, and whatever, whoever is in the scene, whatever it is that's being consented to is great. But it's kind of like you wearing a mask, unless it's part of like a costume kind of like scene or segment, it's like I'm missing that connection. So it's like I can just scroll to another video or bypass another video to like see that. So I just wanted to get like, kind of like what are your thoughts about people who willingly participate in scenes, but they wear like that ski mask or wear some type of hood like to cover their face?
So I like I'm here for like when it comes to like my Sebastian side, that's all costume. And like mask and all that. Am I willing to perform with someone, like do actual content with somebody without the mask? Yeah, depending on who it is. If it's my favorite Twitter porn star, definitely.
Yeah.
Like we can do this.
I want you to know this is me. I'm getting
you get all of this. You get all of Vernon. Like you are fucking Sebastian and Vernon in this moment. Like let's be real. But outside of that, I'm okay with it because I know it's them protecting their privacy. And they really want to engage with them, because I don't know if they're like a fan of them and of the person. They're getting their shot to do a film with them. So I'm like, that's great, but it does also take away from the sexual connection that you can have when you are doing this with two content creators. Like whenever I see someone in the mask, if it's not that person's actual platform, like their character, their persona for their page is a person in a mask, because I got a whole ass job out here. I want to protect that, so I'm going to wear this mask while I do my content. If you are the content creator and you're engaging with someone who is repetitively wearing a mask of some sort, my main thought in that situation is, okay, this must be a stranger that they met on some app that is willing to be in this production with them. And that's when my mind, because with sexual education, sexual health, that's where my mind always go into. I'm like, did you ask these questions about, have you been tested? Do you have those results? Are those results printed from today? Have you tested them yourself? Did you go to them at the clinic and they're all up in your body without a condom? What is going on? Like, this is where my mind goes. So because my mind goes there, I immediately have to go to the next available Twitter porn that I could find, because I'd rather not be thinking so heavily on their personal sexual health and what they're putting at risk with their sexual act. I have to go to something that I'm more comfortable with. And usually that is with facial imaging. Like I can see both parties. I know who they are. Or if it is somebody with the mask or never shows their face, like Rabbit, Fat Rabbit.
Fat Rabbit.
Like never seen this mofo's, because I was a fan on Twitter, on Tumblr. Never seen face. It's like chest and below. I get it. That's their character.
Exactly.
But outside of that, I'm just like, I just worry. I worry too much, so I just can't do it. And I like more power to those who, again, if that's what you're comfortable with, I love it for you. I just can't do it.
Yeah, and that's what, and like I said, that's where I stand with it. It's like I get the need to, privacy. I'm all for it, but innately the result of that is that it creates something of a disconnect for me,
Mm-hmm.
unless, like you say, it's somebody that has made not showing themselves, as a part of like this is their character. And so I just like, I always find those situations to be like really really tricky.
Mm-hmm. Who would have thought Twitter porn would get this deep?
We could have so many segments on
We
like
could.
this. It's an ongoing conversation.
One of the things that probably should just address this before we get into the questions and whatnot is freak accounts. I know I have my freak account. I used to just like stuff on my regular account, but then I was like, let me be respectful of those other people who are not into the kind of porn that I'm into, because I'm over here liking porn that might have like two trans people having sex, gay sex, straight porn. I'm liking everything. There was this one chick who has multiple videos of her just pouring like milk down her chest, and you just see milk going straight into the crevices of her tits, and I'm just like, girl, I don't know why this is giving me all the life that I need today. Follow. Like, I can't retweet. I don't want to retweet. I don't want people to like Vern is always watching porn. And so I created my other account.
I just created mine like a few months ago. And it was suggested to me because of the fact, like, I think somebody I was following or I wanted to follow, and actually he's actually a known kind of like star. So the fact that I actually was talking with him in the conversation, I was like, oh, okay. So it was one of those things where he actually gave me like some tips and suggestions about like creating, like another account, what to actually do, in creating it, and things like that, because it was getting to that point, like you say, it's like I want to follow certain people and things like that, but I have to be very conscious about the fact that I'm a professional. I'm in academic spaces as well, so I don't want my personal and professional to be being blended. And so it's like, okay, let me revamp this. So I can, and as a writer, right? So I had to spend some time coming up with my username that was not gonna have my real name, anything attached to it. So I had to think about that real hard. I had to think about, okay, my picture can obviously be in here, so I have to, create like another picture or something like that doesn't show my face. So it was a whole like creating a whole, it's like almost like creating a whole nother identity in a sense. And so I'm glad that I have it. So I just keep both accounts up on my phone now and just switch back and forth, and it really doesn't matter about I think the necessary things about the not necessarily what I post, because it's like I really don't post anything on my other account. I really just go there to like and to reply to stuff. So now I feel comfortable in doing that, knowing that, if I was to do that on my regular account, I got people seeing things, and, it's just, so I do get that person, that public versus private, kind of thing.
Yes. Oh, I think that my freak account, I love it so much. I need to like go back from I'm just too lazy to do it, but go to my personal account through my free account, my freak account, so I could find those content creators that I love, because now if I go, because coming into my regular account, they pop up, I'm just like, I want to like, but I'm trying to keep that separate for my friends' sake, because I already know some of the porn I liked in the past popped up on their thread, and it's like, Vernon, you are a nasty hoe, like do better. So just to prevent that. But I don't know. Everyone get your freak account. Get you a damn freak account.
Now, you have a lot of people, like, they just really and shout out to, and kudos to them. They really just don't care, or they're in positions where, like, I don't need to, like, hide, not necessarily hide myself, but I don't need to, separate, professional and personal. So I love people, that can do that. But I don't know. It's kind of like when I created it, it's kind of like almost like an alter ego. Like I feel sexy having like a freak.
I support. I support. Look, that's why I have Sebastian over here to do all that craziness stuff with I love because it is an extra step of freedom because granted, if anybody finds it, I'm not going to care. Like when it comes to the jobs I'm working and they're just like, is this you? I'm gonna be like, yes, it is. Like, do you want more content or do you have critiques? What why are you asking me this?
Look, let me answer some questions for you if you really want to know.
Look, you knew the answer before you came here. Like, what are you looking for?
Exactly.
But like with that, I'm comfortable with people knowing that I have this. But it's like there's something about just having that account separate. Not saying that it's it is a little bit more freeing. It's a lot less worry in the sense that I'm not accidentally triggering or not even exposing, but making someone else uncomfortable with what I've liked or what I've shared. Because I do want to respect those followers on that page, on my personal page, because I know a lot of them are not as sexual as I am. But at least on the freak side of things, everybody who follows me and everybody I'm following on there is all about sex.
Yeah. And honestly, like I say, I like having the two accounts because I like having one that is strictly for, professional. It's academic. It's, hey, these are friends and stuff like that. And then I love having my other one that is just my freak, because back before when it was a little bit of a blend of both, it would be like, okay, I'm trying to scroll just to see this. But now because I have my other account, I don't really need to do all that scrolling. It's like this kind of, when I'm in the mood for this, kind of content, I know just to swap over to my freak account and where I can go and I enjoy and I can actually engage with people. Because before I had my other account, I would be afraid to just reply to something because I know that people, if they log onto your page, they can see about things that, like you reply to or that you tweet about or, things like that. So I would even be afraid just to do that, and not afraid because I'm ashamed or anything like that. But it's just one of those things like you just don't want people in your business. So having that other account, it just, like you say, it's a lot more freeing. You don't have to really think about, too much. Right.
Because I will say one thing, the one porn star, the one sex worker I'm trying to get in them, well, I'm not in the DMs yet, but get in the bed with. Yeah. They already know I'm interested. They know.
Yeah,
they liking stuff and everything. I'm just like,
right. You better put in that application.
Look,
you better put in that application.
We can do content on content on different surfaces. I'm here for it. But yeah, now let's switch over to a different conversation.
All right.
I will say, since this has been an episode all about sex, let's keep it about sex and go into sex questions.
All right, let's get it.
So this is what are some of your deal breaker turnoffs?
Okay. Oh, what are some of my deal breaker turnoffs? One of my deal breaker turnoffs is someone who just doesn't like to kiss. Like, because I'm a very slow, kind of sensual, intimate person, so I can't go into an intimate encounter with somebody and it's just about, even if it's just about oral or it's just about, penetration or anything like that, that's just like, it's almost like a disconnect for me in a way. So I have to have that intimate connection. I have to have the foreplay, should we say, to even be in the space to want to do more. Let me see if I have any other sexual just turn off. I really don't like I don't like a whole lot of aggression. So that for me is a big turn off. And especially, like, I think for me, just because, one, like I say, I'm a slow and sensual person, but also too, because I have like sensitive skin. So it's like, you scratch me, I get a web, and it's like, we're gonna have problems. But I know it's like, you in the moment, and things may turn a little, aggressive, especially. But it's like no, bitch, like don't scratch me.
I could not say the same. I've
No.
been scratched before and I loved it. I actually had so I didn't know it was that deep of scratch until the next day when like the little tiny microscopic scabs come across.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just felt my shoulder and I was like, what the fuck?
What is happening?
Like, oh my God, I did not know that was going on, but that happened. I will say, wait, did you have any other deal breakers? Because I kind of cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. No, I'm trying to think if I have any. So please go. No, please.
All right. So for me, if you're rushing sex, that's a turn off for me, and because like you, I'm a very sensual person, so there's preparation. Like let's be in the moment, let's not try to go too fast. Let's get into things gently, and then if you want to, if both of us want to be a little bit more rough, we can be a lot more rough then, but it's just easing into it. I just can't do like abrupt we fucking. No, I cannot. We not fucking.
Yeah.
Not.
Also for like, I know that there's a lot of animal lovers out here, but like your pet cannot be like in the space of us being intimate. Like that's not going to happen. So I'm just putting that out there right now.
I agree with you there. That's happened to me before. I felt very awkward, and me being in their space, I was like, okay, it will be rude for me to ask them to put their child, their dog outside. But I'm also like, but you have a whole living room, so can you just put them in the living room? And because the dog licked my feet, and I'm like, okay, this is just getting a little bit way uncomfortable. Rather than just letting them roam around the living room, they just put the dog in the kennel, and now the dog is in the kennel. We're supposedly having sex, and now I'm just like, the dog is in the same room still.
I can't get past that. I really can't. Also, this may be a little bit more of a racial implication, which is a whole nother conversation, but like, don't refer to my frontal appendage as a cock. Like, I'm like, the word just sounds wrong. Like, like I can't.
The word, I know you say you hate the word triggered, but it does.
It does. It's triggered. It's a trigger. It's a trigger.
Oh, I want that big black cock. Oh God, no. Oh, ew.
I was gonna say like, oh, why are you saying like that?
We don't want it. I don't want it.
Also, along with that, I think just any type of just like fetish, like how we've talked about like fetishization. Like I know we're all into, and I don't mean fetishization as to say like, oh, we're into like particular kinks or like fetishes or anything like that. But just like if you have this constant like obsession with like a certain like body part or like something that's just outwardly physical, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, we're in this intimate moment, like I know this, like you don't necessarily need to keep repeating it. Just like I had a friend say that like one of his sexual kind of like deal breakers, and I think maybe for a lot of older gentlemen, like they may relate to this, being called daddy. And things like that. But like I know for a lot of men it's a turn, it's like a turn on or things like that. But it's like I'm not nobody's like dad or father. Like it's just it takes me mentally out.
Like
also, yeah. I'm sorry. I can't. Okay.
Like I can't be called daddy during sex, and I'm not going to call you daddy during sex. It makes me very uncomfortable because I'm trying to fuck my dad.
And also, I wouldn't think like this would be a problem, but some people do. And unless I am dealing with someone who is of a hearing impaired nature, like I don't think I could deal with like just silent sex.
I can definitely do that. But that or some good music. But I definitely done silent sex multiple times. I'm okay with it because it depends on how pleasurable it is. If I'm bored then I cannot do silent sex because I'm in my head at this point. I'm just ready for everything to be done. I know a huge turn off for me is calling my asshole a pussy. I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't. That makes me feel not necessarily insecure, but I feel as though you don't see me as who I am and who I present myself, or who I'm represented as, and who I told you I am. Therefore, you're not respecting me as a person. Therefore, you're not respecting my body, and it's just not sexy to me. Now, for those who do enjoy their asshole being a bussy or pussy, again, more power to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love y'all. I will make sure I send every motherfucker who hit me up to you so they can, do what needs to be done for you. I just can't do it.
There's a lot of things. And let's not even talk about the nature of just like and I'm not saying that you got to be all out, decked out, but people, let's practice some good hygiene too.
Yes.
Like, and I'm not saying that, like we always got to be the pillar of hygiene, because let's face it, if you coming from the gym, you may be in the moment, or you're coming from work, you just may want to get it in. It's not to say like we're all going to be pictures of pillars of hygiene all the time, but like, don't be funky.
Not all the time.
Don't be don't be funky. But yeah, I know, like, I don't necessarily know if it would be a deal breaker, but I know for me, and again, more power to my shorter men who are out here taking it, doing this, doing that. I rock with you, but not for me. At the end of the day, especially dealing with another man, like, your endowment is going to play a big factor into what is and what is not going to happen. Because yeah.
Oh, you're talking
I'm
about
not going
queens.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to be a size queen, I say more power to you. Some people, you have a lot of people say the bigger the better. I feel for you, but that's just not going to be me. Like, it's a no. It's a no.
And I feel like the concept of size queen is probably the thing that got so many people into sending dick pics, because they are trying to prove themselves before they even meet up, because I want you to know exactly what you're getting into because of my dick size or whatever the case may be. But like, look, size really does not matter, and that's been statistically proven. But for those,
I would actually combat that. Size actually does matter, but not for the reasons that people think so. Size actually does matter because, especially like if you are someone who is, like, as we know about anatomy, a woman's vagina anatomy is not a an asshole anatomy. So in those retrospects, size does matter. And it's so interesting because there was a conversation that happened one time where this woman, she was actually talking to some of her male friends who are well endowed. And she said it was very interesting about the things that they revealed. And she said most of them revealed the fact that as well endowed as they are, they have actually some of the worst sex lives, because a lot of partners that they meet, they cannot, deal with their endowment. So I tend to think, I tend to say like size does matter, but not for the reasons that people usually associate with it. And I know personally for me, when it comes to like the whole dick pics and, things like that, my thing is like, yeah, that looks good from a distance, but and it can stay over there. It can stay over there.
Look,
like,
pictures lie all the time. That's what I know. And angle is important.
It do.
Angle could add some inches. Look,
it can. Like, I feel like, when it comes to size, it's like, And I think also too that there's also, obviously we can get into talking about historical implications of being sexualized and objectified, because of the nature of Mandingo and a lot of those kind of implications that can hinder or even ruin a lot of times sexual encounters. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are like just deal break that are deal breakers. And you know, and you know, the thing is, when you are a kind of sexually expressive and free person, or you know, like, hey, you do, you know, engage in this. Like, there's a lot of things that I like to see, but I wouldn't necessarily engage with. And I think that there's a difference, you know, with that. There's a lot of things that I'm like, oh yeah, okay, like that's a turn on, or you know, like that looks nice, but I'm like, ooh, in my head, I'm like, never me.
Well, that's like there's some people who enjoy watching scat play and water sports and they're turned on by it, but those same people are not. They're not the ones who also engage in that. It's like it turns them on, but they're not. It's not their sexual expression.
Yeah, and I think that when getting to know people, either from a friendship base, romantic base, and when you're having conversations and trying to get to know someone, I think that that's a very pointed question to ask about what turns you on, but what turns you on and that you would actually do. Because I think that there's a lot of you know, boundaries that can happen, you know, that can be established with that. There's a lot of things that you may not necessarily come to know about a person. Just because something is a turn on for a person doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that they would actually engage in and do, you know.
Those are the facts.
Oh, yeah.
Now, on that note, it is getting to that point of the show. So, do you have any last words, any tips, tricks, or anything like that that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, just to reiterate, you know, again, let's put some respect on our sex workers, you know, names out here. The content that they put out here is not a justification for, you know, people to be sliding into their DMs saying all kinds of hateful and, you know, obscene things to them. They are not objects, you know, to be toyed with. They are there to provide a fantasy, to provide great content for, you know, our sexual needs, our sexual arousal, and yeah, just the nature of let's put some respect on our sex.
Amen. Amen. Thank you again so much, Tyrell, for being a part of the Holiloquy podcast. I definitely appreciate you so fucking much. To the listeners, thank y'all so much for also being a part of the podcast family. Thank you so much for listening to the Holiloquy podcast, where we step out and speak about sexuality. Just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful. You are worthy of happiness and joy. You are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectation of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, love you all and see you next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Holiloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.holiloquy.com. That's www.HEAUXLILOQUY.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.